Okay, so I've got this document here. It's called Kapow DT Y5 Textiles WV.PDF, and it's all about textiles.
Sounds interesting.
It is, and I thought we could do a little deep dive together, kind of like a crash course on some of the key textile terms and techniques.
Sure, I'm game.
Perfect. So one of the first things that jumped out at me in this document was the mention of stuffed toys.
Ah,
And it made me think about, trying to sew a teddy bear once for a friend's kid. And, well, let's just say it looked more like a lumpy potato than an actual teddy bear.
yeah, I can imagine.
Clearly, I needed some textile guidance.
Well, the source we have here actually defines a stuffed toy as a shape sewn from outer fabric and filled with, some flexible material.
Stuffing.
Exactly, stuffing.
Yeah.
And it mentions that those classic teddy bears, they've been around for over a century, comforting kids.
Wow.
Since they were invented in 1902.
Really? 1902?
In honor of President Theodore Roosevelt.
That's a fun fact.
It is.
So all that sewing for over a century, all those teddy bears, and speaking of sewing, this document lists a whole bunch of different sewing techniques like cross-stitch and running stitch and blanket stitch and applique. It's like a whole new language.
It can seem that way, but at the core of it all is sewing, which
Yeah.
is simply using a needle and thread to join materials together.
Okay, so then what are all those different types of stitches?
Well, think of it this way. Let's say you're adding a decorative detail to your teddy bear's tummy. You might use a cross stitch,
Okay.
which makes those little X shapes, perfect for creating patterns. Or if you just need simple seams and outlines, you could use a running stitch,
Right.
which looks like tiny little dashes marching across the fabric.
Okay, so cross-stitch and running stitch.
Yeah.
What about those other ones? Blanket stitch and applique.
Blanket stitch is really good for reinforcing edges.
I see.
Like, think about the edge of an actual blanket. It's strong, and it helps prevent the fabric from fraying.
Oh, right.
You can also use it to join pieces of fabric together nice and securely.
Huh. So it's like a sturdy hug for your fabric.
Exactly. And then there's applique, which is a little bit more intricate.
How so?
Well, it's kind of like creating a fabric collage where you attach smaller pieces of fabric onto a larger piece to build up a design.
Oh, so like iron-on patches for a jacket.
Exactly. That's a form of applique.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we've got all these stitching techniques down, but how do you make sure you're cutting out those fabric pieces accurately, especially for something like applique? I'm just imagining lots of wonky shapes and frustration.
Well, that's where templates come in handy.
Templates?
Yes. They're like your guides. Think of them as cookie cutters for fabric. The document describes them as stencils, often made from metal or plastic or even paper.
Makes sense.
And they help you create accurate shapes so all your pieces are consistent and precise.
Right, so everything looks nice and polished in the end.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got our fabric all cut out perfectly using our template, but how do we make sure the whole project comes together the way we want it to?
Well, that's where you need to consider the design criteria.
Design criteria.
Yes, these are basically the guidelines that help you make decisions about your project and ensure your final product meets your specific goals.
Okay.
So, for example, let's say you're making a quilt. Your design criteria might include things like choosing color schemes that complement your bedroom decor and selecting fabrics that are durable but also soft for snuggling.
It's like having a roadmap for your project.
Exactly.
But even with the best roadmap, sometimes things don't go exactly as planned. Remember my lumpy teddy bear attempt.
Oh.
So is there any way to learn and improve in the world of textiles?
Absolutely. That's where evaluation comes in.
Evaluation.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
about taking a critical look at your finished project, what worked well, what could be improved, how well did it meet your design criteria.
I see.
It's like a constructive review that helps you refine your skills and approach your next project with even more knowledge and confidence.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about learning and growing with each project.
Oh.
Well, we've covered so much in this deep dive, all those different sewing techniques, the importance of templates and design criteria, and even how evaluation can make us better textile creators.
We have, and it really makes you think about all the different possibilities within the world of textiles, for instance. How has the increasing use of synthetic fabrics like polyester and nylon impacted design and creativity in textile work?
That's a great question.
It is something to ponder.
It really is. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive into the world of textiles. It's been a fascinating journey.
My pleasure.
And to all our listeners out there, thanks for tuning in.
Happy stitching, everyone.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Bye for now.